So let me give you a brief case study about how the team works, and you can sort of see how it is passed from one to another. We meet, each of these teams meets on a monthly basis or a bi-monthly basis in each of these regions. Deborah Zanders Willis runs a quarterly protocol committee where the principals come together to put together some policy affecting the program. Earlier this year, Lori and Lucy Mion, the South Bay protective social worker, and I went out to do some training. We do a lot of training associated with this program. We went down to National City at their invitation to speak with lineups. We do a lot of lineup trainings trying to get the word out, in particular to patrol officers who are bumping up against a lot of kids that are coming out of these environments. Now I have to tell you that the training was on a Monday, and that just happens to be Lori and Lucy's day off, but as is very consistent with the level of support that we get from Child Protective Services, they were happy to come in on their day off, and they regularly do come in on their day off. We went to National City at 5:30 in the morning on that Monday, and we spoke to a crowd of 6 police officers. We looked at each other and we thought that we were wasting our time. I mean, frankly, I live in Carlsbad. That's an hour drive at 5:30 in the morning to talk with 6 sleepy police officers in National City. I really wondered about the return on investment for that type of training. We gave the brief pitch. They hand out these cards. We hand out these cards and sheets. This has been a big part of our success, is marketing the program so that we get patrol officers and police officers to know, how can I get a protective social worker to my narcotics crime scene in 10 or 15 minutes? Because you're only as good as your last pizza delivery in this program. One of the police officers there, 2 days later, responded to a domestic violence complaint. There was no dope in this house. It was a man and a woman in a low-income sort of hotel housing opportunity with a 3 or 4 month old baby. 4 months old? 4 months old. The neighbors have called the police. It's a standard domestic violence call. It's a misdemeanor arrest. They're taking the husband into custody on a misdemeanor domestic violence complaint. They don't have probable cause to arrest his wife. They have some concerns about the welfare of the baby. They're doing their investigation. The officer learns that what's really happening here is that the police officer has discovered, or is that the husband has sent his wife out to do a trick. She's a prostitute. He sent her out to do a trick so that she could get some money so they could get high. They're addicted to rock cocaine. They're using methamphetamine. And it occurs to him, this is really a debt case. I mean, there's no drugs in the house. There's no paraphernalia in the house. But because we've been out there and have done this training, he realizes this is really a debt case, and there's a child in this house. So I'm going to call the number that they gave me on the card that they handed out. And Lucy came out to the crime scene. She takes the child into protective custody. The wife is not being arrested. The husband is being arrested. There was some issues. I mean, normally what would have happened in those circumstances is that the police would have left the child with his mother. I mean, there weren't any obvious protective issues except for what the social workers turned up when they got there and did an independent investigation to assess the welfare of that child and the safety of that child. So they made a very good safety decision on behalf of this child and took the child into protective custody. The father goes into custody for the domestic violence dispute. And what happens next is that the child goes to Polinsky Center, the medical protocol is implemented, and we learn 72 hours later that the baby is tox positive for cocaine. The mother had told Lucy at the scene, no, we only smoke dope in the bathroom. We never smoke dope in front of the baby. But of course, she does love that child, and there is this sort of issue of how do addicted parents cope with their addiction and being a parent at the same time. Those are issues that are addressed down the road, hopefully, associated with this program. So then the way it works is that the social worker then gets in contact with the prosecutor in South Bay, and they're talking all the time. They're part of the team, and she says, that baby we took out of that hotel in National City tested positive. So the prosecutor then adds felony 273A charges on the husband's domestic violence case and puts a warrant out for the arrest of the mother. They go back to the hotel. She's gone. She's a prostitute. She's moved to a different jurisdiction. We find her eventually in a hotel with in the San Diego Police Department's Southern Division in a hotel. And she has dramatic issues of her own. She's been pretty much on the street since she was 14 years old. But they couldn't find her. Eventually, we did locate her back when she was visiting the baby during a visit at Child Welfare Services. She was taken into custody at that time after visiting with the baby. She had dope in her purse when she was arrested. We filed felony 273A charges against her as well. Ultimately, everyone pleads guilty to these charges. The child is placed through Child Welfare Services. I know that in that particular case there are some placement issues associated with that child. It was very difficult to make a family placement, I think, for...
We live out of county and we had to coordinate with the other counties to do home evaluation, so that took a while.
And they didn't come back very well, I don't think.
That's right.
Right, there were issues in the family. I mean, she's been on the street since she was 14. There were dramatic issues there. So you can see that the DEC program, and even from the prosecutor's perspective, we can't put this case together without very, very close and dramatic discussions with the rest of the team. We have to have a good relationship with the law enforcement officers. We have a crucial relationship with that protective social worker. We're getting information back from that social worker. We're getting toxicology results back from Polinsky Center from the medical records of those child, putting out subpoenas ducas tecum to get the medical records. And because it all comes together, you can see that in this particular case, you make a very dramatic difference in the life of a child. Had they not called the protective social worker to that crime scene, they would have arrested the husband. She would have, she knows right away, I have to move. And the child is gone, is lost to us. So there's a magical moment in this process, and if you miss it, who knows, that child just falls off through the cracks. But if you catch them, you have the opportunity to make just an enormous difference in the life and welfare of that child.
Thank you very much.